another episode of Femme Naturelle podcast. And today for story time, we have a special guest with us. We have Azaria the Pussy Fairy. And as soon as I saw the word pussy, it actually intrigued me to want to interview this young lady. We actually reached out. She reached out to me back in December, and we are now interviewing because I saw that special word Pussy and I wanted to talk to her some more. So I'm going to pass you the mic so you can introduce yourself a little more and tell the listeners who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Well, hey y'all, I'm Azaria Menezes, aka the Pussy Fairy, aka your sex, intimacy, and relationship coach. And I work with couples, I work with moms, I work with anyone who really wants to just like activate that sexual energy in their bodies, rekindle that fire because I have all the lighters and really just bring more intimacy and depth to the bedroom and out.
Wonderful. That is good to hear because we know, especially me being a mom, there are many times that we know the sex has literally been laid to rest. Laid to rest,
Absolutely.
gone, and it's like, where did you go? You're not in the mood for it anymore. And I feel as though, as women, I know what goes on through my head, Azaria, is how the fuck is this guy always in the mood? By the time I get off of work and I tend to the kids and I do shit I gotta do, literally, I want rest and relaxation. I just want, and I'm very selfish when it comes to my time, so maybe that's another reason, but I want you to educate us today and tell us, like, how can we keep the magic in the room and all that other good stuff. So before we get into all the pussy stuff, tell us your story.
Yes. So, my story with sexuality has always been very alive. And as a young child, I was that like really annoying kid with all the awkward questions. And my parents had no answers. Like they were like, "Oh, this is too much. Like, go figure it out. Go read a book. Like, here's kind of like the anatomy, science kind of things." And my mom, she was really connected to her sexuality. She has an East Indian dad. She's African and also has an East Indian dad. So there was a lot of connection to her sexuality. But when it came to talking to me about it, it was kind of like, oh, just go like Wikipedia. And so what I did was I went and did my research. And I recently just found my childhood diaries when I was like 8 years old. There are drawings in there. It was like every single bit of information about bodies and sex and sexuality that you can find. And so this has been with me since I was so young, since I can remember. And there's also a layer of trauma. There's also a layer of childhood sexual abuse. And so as I was growing up, it became quite difficult to connect to my sexuality in a way that felt good, in a way that felt healthy. And so, what I would do when I started getting really into my body and into my sexuality was that I used sex to disconnect from my body, or I used it as a way to feel that validation because I wasn't aware of what the trauma was actually doing in my body, what the trauma was actually doing to the lens in the way I view the world with, the way I view myself with, and sexuality. So it was a journey, a journey of a lot of bad choices and disconnection and pain and addiction and all the things that come with that, right? Like I use sex as a drug. I just wanted to find that empowerment in my sexuality, and I was doing it in all the wrong ways because I had not addressed my trauma. And of course, like, how are you going to know that, oh, I need to address my trauma when you're like a teenager? Like, that's not something that I had a lot of education around at the time. Talking to my dad about therapy, and he's like, therapy? Like BIPOC families, sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle with that. And so for me, it was really difficult to find a healthy way to connect to my sexuality. And at some point, I just, I was laying there and I was having sex with my partners because I wanted to please them, or I thought I would get some type of validation out of it, or it would make me feel better. But really, I would just lay there and I would feel so disconnected. I would feel so empty. I would just feel so hollow after sex. And I wondered, like, why is everyone making such a big deal out of this? Like, what's the point? I mean, I could have done without it. And so it was at that moment I decided, oh, wait a minute, I want to thrive in the bedroom. I want to feel good. I want to feel alive. Like, I want to have those toe curling, mind blowing, like transcendent sexual experiences that I hear about. Is it real or is it fake? Like, let's investigate. So, this was really the start of my journey into my sexual liberation, into feeling empowered in my voice and my body, in my womanhood, into sexuality. And now
Here
here
we
we are.
are. So, quite a few questions I have for you. Number one, let's touch on the sexual trauma. Do you know who your abuser was? And was it a family member or a friend of the family? And was it a man or a woman?
Yeah, so yes, absolutely. So it was a
Mm-hmm.
family member and also partners of like my mom when she had some
Mm-hmm.
boyfriends. So it was always something very close.
Oh, it
It's
wasn't one
always close
person.
knit. No, it was a couple of
I understand.
instances.
I understand. And how young were you? How old were you? Do you remember when the first abuse took place?
Hmm. I was 7.5
Very young. That you
the
can
first one.
actually remember.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that I can actually
Okay.
remember.
And how long did it continue?
It was very sporadic and in a way that I did not actually recognize what was happening. And so I think that's the interesting thing with that. And, now thinking back, it's like, well, obviously, and of course, the adult in the situation should have known that it
Mm-hmm.
was wrong. But there's these instances that are very murky where you're just not quite sure where the
Mm-hmm.
line is. And as a child, you're not quite able to discern where that line shifts because of course any manipulation that happens and all of that. So it is interesting to look back on it and just obviously see that something wasn't
Mm-hmm.
right there and the signs should have been visible and all of those things, but in reality I'm guessing the adult that did that was thinking ahead and with a much greater
Mm-hmm.
capacity to be aware of what they're
Exactly.
doing, right?
Exactly. And do
Yeah.
you feel as though that the negative feeling that you were getting during sexual activity was associated with probably the pain that you were enduring at a young age? 7.5, have whatever, rather it's oral, penetration, touching, whatever it may be, that is very traumatic for a 7-year-old.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times when you're that young, I mean, I'm not like gonna say this for everyone, but for me in my journey, I hadn't integrated it as trauma just quite yet in my
Mm-hmm.
awareness, right? It was an experience and a memory, and with that, subconsciously, you're obviously looking at future experiences or anything like that through that
Mm-hmm.
lens, but there isn't quite an awareness around it that something bad has happened to you
Mm-hmm.
in a way, because number one, you your body responds to it in such a different way, and it processes things in a different way, obviously because of development and your brain and how we process things as children. So there isn't that like awareness of like, oh no, I think I've had a traumatic experience and this is what's happening in my body. It's just like abuse happens, whether it's, sexual abuse or physical abuse or anything like that, and you just process it and you just keep going in the day to day, right? It's not something that as a child I was really aware of at the time.
Gotcha. So now, at what age did the abuse stop?
As I said, it was really sporadic, and it was with different family members. So the earliest I remember was after the 7 was probably maybe 8 or
Okay.
9, and that was also like quite sporadic, and it happened very gradually in a way where I was convinced that it is okay, and I was validated, and I was like, ooh, like I'm the cool one, and like this person like really wants to be my friend, and like they think I'm awesome. And so it took a few months. I'm not sure about the timeline, but I think it was like a few months or even years over time of really just bringing me into this web of normalizing what was happening, right? Even with the language, or even with the way that they validated me as just a person, and they listened to me and they wanted to spend time with me. And it was, now looking back, it's like, wow, you were just creating this huge this huge
Exactly.
nest that I felt comfortable enough in order to be manipulated. And what it is
It is
manipulation, right?
manipulation.
It's
It's grooming the
grooming.
child. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
when you started asking your mom questions, how old were you say you were? Was it like once you became a teenager, after you got your period, or after you started experiencing these negative sexual experiences?
Yeah, I think it was before. It was before, because I think I had just seen pictures of
Uh
something
huh.
somewhere of a naked woman, and so that's kind of when the curiosity started, and it just evolved. And I think with the experiences that I had, it did activate almost that
Mm-hmm.
curiosity and what was happening in my body. And I always had found that I was naturally curious about it from a young age, but then unfortunately with the
Mm-hmm.
abuse that came about, and the traumatic experiences, I think it just amplified that curiosity in a way that I wasn't aware of, right? Because sometimes when we experience sexual abuse, that is one of the ways it can manifest, is like an intense curiosity around sex and sexuality, right? Whether we're aware of it as children or not, or whether the adults in our life are aware of it or not.
Very true. Now, you are both your parents from Africa? Both of them.
Yes.
So I can definitely relate
Yeah.
with my parents, both of my parents being from Haiti. A sexual conversation is not something that took place in the house at all whatsoever.
Oh
Girl, we
no.
didn't even talk about periods. I mean, the conversation I had with my mother, bless her soul, she did the best. And I said, bless her soul, the woman's still alive, bless her heart. You know, she did the best that she could. She had such a basic conversation. She was even scared to talk to me about it. So that's the most sex conversation I think we ever had. And then, other than the fact when I had got pregnant at a young age, and then she had the audacity to tell me, well, I don't think you should have any more sex after this. Okay, yeah, that didn't happen, obviously. But I totally understand when you made that comment about you just don't talk about that stuff in the house. You don't. And it's awful to say, and coming from a foreign family, I understand, but it's not even a foreign family. I also realize American families, our parents who are from that 50s, 60s, 70s generation. I'm going to say 70s is a little more like this, because I think that's when they start to get a little better, some of the 70 parents. But the 50s, the 60s, the
Yeah.
40s, they didn't want to talk about shit. Nothing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and then you wonder, well, how am I supposed to learn about this? How am I supposed to, as a woman, know about my body? How am I supposed to know what something as simple as a yeast infection is, or bacterial vaginosis, or understand understand my body, know what a clitoris is, if you don't talk to me about it? Where am I supposed to get this information from? And I always say thank God for my gynecologist, because if it wasn't for her, who was comfortable enough to speak to me, it's hard to find a woman that's comfortable enough to have these conversations with you. Nobody doesn't want to fucking talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And where do you go, right?
Exactly. Where do you go is
Yeah.
the big question.
And all you see is in the media.
All you see is
And that's not
no,
really doing
or
anyone
conversations
justice.
you have with your friends, and they're not really giving you factual stuff, and they're not educating you in the way that you need to be educated in a mature way. So when your mother doesn't want to talk to you, you have no choice but to research yourself, and that's even if you do it, because at times you get scared because I'm not going to talk to my friends about this because that's a little embarrassing, or I'm not going to ask this question or research. And, 40, 50, 60s women barely even went to the gynecologist, I feel. That's not something that was done.
That's true.
I feel like I'm a millennial born in 83. I think millennials start in 82. So it's really, I feel like my generation, a little few years before that, that I think those parents got a little more comfortable talking to their children.
Absolutely.
And what year were you born?
I agree. I was born in 1990.
Okay. And so your mom, was she born in the 70s?
68.
Okay. So, but she was at least, but she wasn't able, she still wasn't able to have the conversation because she told you, go find.
No, she was good.
She was able to have the conversation with you. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
she was. But I grew up with my grandma as well. And so that was like a whole, like, we don't talk about anything. Like, you're going to bed at 7. Good night.
Now, did you grow up here or in Africa?
So I was born in England and I moved back to Zimbabwe and I stayed with my grandmother there. We grew up on a beautiful farm. Oh, I had the best childhood. And my grandpa passed away, and so my mom was already in Austria, and so then we moved to her. And so that's when I started developing like the relationship with her and really just getting to know her as my mom. And so
Gotcha. So now we're going to fast forward. And at what age now? Well, first let me ask you, how old were you when you truly lost your virginity? And I say truly as though I don't even know why truly needs to be. You either lose it or you don't. So at what age did you lose your virginity?
I love to think my first sexual experience was when I was 13.
Okay.
14? Somewhere around there.
You beat me by a year. I was 15, so you beat me by a year. But and that experience, negative, all negative.
That one was neutral, I would say. Because I was still processing kind of everything that had happened in the past and trying to navigate like what does this mean for me? And I think I remember my my boyfriend saying at the time, like, Ed, I don't think that you're a virgin. And I was like, but I am. He was like, but I don't think you are. And I was like, okay, I don't know what you're expecting here. And at the time, I wasn't really aware of like anything that could make him think otherwise, right? But now, obviously, looking back, it's like, oh, okay. And also, what's it to you?
So now, here's the other question. And we're fast forwarding. When did you start educating yourself on your pussy? When did you and how did the education start? And where, Pussy Fairy, why not name?
Those are great questions. I love them. I think that my true desire to thrive in the bedroom and to connect to pussy and to honor and listen to pussy came probably when I was about 18. So I had gotten clean. I
Clean
was
of
on a
clean
journey,
of what?
yes,
Oh,
of
that's an
drugs, yes.
you left that
And
story out, girl, and now you're just adding it in. I just got clean. Okay. Okay, so when did that start? You know, I'm going to rewind you back now. Okay, because at first I was like, okay, she was a little nymph, but now you're adding drugs in there. Okay, when did that start?
so I think that started when I was 16. It was really just for me a way to process the trauma that had happened to me in my life, and for me to process the experiences that I had had. And so it was such an active, like an active moment of how do I
Mm-hmm.
numb the pain of what I've experienced. And so obviously at the time I was like, this is just a
Mm.
great time.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Right? And we don't really recognize what's happening
Mm-hmm.
underneath. And so I got pretty addicted for a few years, and I went down the drain
Mm-hmm.
pretty fast, and I was naturally always
Mm-hmm.
very curious. So I wanted to try everything once. And it was one of those things where I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. I used it as an avoidance of what was underneath, even though I didn't quite understand what was underneath, right? And the moment I decided enough is enough, when I had obviously hit
Mm-hmm.
my own version of rock bottom, I just stopped. I just stopped cold turkey, and I went to the tattoo shop and I got a tattoo of the day that I decided to stop. And I stuck with it, and now we're 14 years clean.
That's great. Congratulations. 14 years clean. And if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
what was the recreational drug of use?
Great question. I think I dabbled in a lot of things that were
Mm-hmm.
exciting to me. I really had phases
Okay.
with each thing, right? So it was like, oh, I went in through a phase where I was enjoying like MDMA and the like serotonin boosty
Gotcha.
things, and then I went through a phase where I was like, ooh, hallucinogens are very exciting, and then I went through a phase where I was like, okay, we're having a little bit of
Okay.
cocaine here, and that's also
Okay.
exciting, right? So it kind of, I had phases with everything, and it was really just trying to escape all of the feelings that I was feeling, and also amplifying all of the feelings that I was feeling when I was on drugs. And it was kind of like that situation where I would always be the last one to be
Gotcha.
awake in whatever I was the one that just didn't stop after everyone was like, oh, I'm tired, let's go home. And so there wasn't really a huge
Mm.
preference, but it was more so trying to avoid the day to day and the reality of my dysregulated nervous system and the trauma that was coming alive in my
How were
body.
your parents during this stage of your life from 16 to 18? Did they even know?
I didn't have any connection
Okay.
with them. I moved out and I did not have any contact
Okay. All
whatsoever.
right. So now we're
hmm
fast forwarding. We aired out the come clean situation. So now you have come clean. And at
Yeah.
18, that's when the research started. And
Yeah, absolutely. So 18 is kind of when it started, is when I wanted to just find back to
mm-hmm.
myself and find back to what pussy was and what I was. And at the time, my mom lives in Austria and my dad lives in Canada. So I had grown up separately
Gotcha.
with them. And at the time I got clean, I was in Canada. And so I was thinking about doing a trip to Austria to go visit my mom because I hadn't seen her in a really
Mm-hmm.
long time. And I had a really great connection with my dad, and he was like, yeah, you should go,
Mm-hmm.
see her. And so I decided to go. And before that, I was like, I really want to show up in a way that feels good, because this is a new
Mm-hmm.
chapter, like new me. And with this new chapter, we're going to connect to our bodies in a way that
Mm-hmm.
feels like home. And we want to connect to our body in a way that feels healing and alive, but also do the therapy and get really comfortable with all the shit that is resting underneath all of these layers. Like, pussy is here, but she's a little salty.
She's a little salty.
She's a little salty that I haven't connected with her and or acknowledged all of the pain that I had put her through, right? Because in all of that trauma, there was a phase where I re-traumatized myself over and over and over again. And I abandoned myself over and over and over again in all of these sexual experiences because subconsciously I was trying to recreate this pain and this confirmation of like, this is what it feels like. This is the reality of it. This is just the way that it is, right? And so with all of that disconnection and dysregulation, it felt really hard to navigate just even connecting with my pussy. And there was a lot of numbness and there was a lot of confusion on how to even connect to this part of my body. And it was a very slow and gradual process. But what really changed things around was addressing the trauma and addressing the pain and addressing the layers and just slowly showing up over and over and over and over again to pussy, to my sexuality, to my pain, to my emotions that I had ignored, all the ways I tried to control myself, all the ways I judged myself, and all the ways that I just hated parts of myself.
So, what exactly did you do, my dear? Was masturbation involved? Is there now, when you say therapy, you actually went and spoke to a counselor, a therapist, and you spoke to them. Did you share with them that your sexual experience was awful and they provided you with advice? Or did you, is there, I know, there's like pelvic, I forgot what it's called, like pelvic thrust therapy or something like that. I forgot the exact.
Yeah, pelvic floor physiotherapy.
So did you involve yourself into that so you and the vagina can better connect, or I should say in your words, your pussy and you can have a better relationship? And when you were having sex, especially, let's just say when you got older, we're not talking about during the trauma period. If you can describe in words, what did it feel like? Did it just feel like, how can I better describe it? And I'll use myself as an example. It's like, because I think all women can understand when they say you are just either not in the mood. There's been many times where I've just had like morning sex just to shut them up. You know, I'm not really in the mood. Not that I'm not attracted to my partner or, fuck this sex, it sucks. No, it's just as women, and especially for myself, there are periods where it's just shut off. It's like an on and off switch, and sex is literally on the off button. And you know what? You want it? I'll just give it to you so I can continue my day and do what I have to do, but I'm disconnected. But it's not painful. It's not painful, and it's not like me being put in a situation where I'm being forced to have sex with you. It's more just, here you go, honey. Let me just feed you for a moment, just, to calm your nerves. That sounds awful. But that's really, is it something similar to that, if you can kind of describe into words?
Yeah, and I think, that brings up an important point of what you shared. I think so many women relate to that, and it's a story that I hear all the time with my clients. It's so common. And I think that the difference is really just understanding your body on a deeper level, which we can talk about later, but let's talk about how it felt like for me in that moment. So, 2 things. Number 1, most of the time when I was having sex, it was either out of the desire to feel some type of emotional connection, or it was just doing it because I was just going along with it. Like I didn't really have my own opinion on sex as a whole because it didn't really feel that great. It didn't really feel like, I just felt like I was showing up to sex. And meanwhile, while that was happening, I was like somewhere else with my mind and wondering when it's going to be over. Not that sometimes it wasn't great, and not that sometimes I wasn't super excited about the idea, but where the disconnection was with my own body, with my own presence, and it just felt like numbness, and it felt like I couldn't really express what I wanted, and it felt like I couldn't say what I wanted to, and it felt like there was a lot of performative stuff that was coming with sex. It was like a performance, and here I am, and I'm doing it for the show, but am I really in it? Absolutely not. And sometimes I would get triggered, right? So I would get triggered by a smell or a moment or a feeling, and it wouldn't trigger a memory per se all of the time, but it would trigger the fact that I don't like this. I need this to stop, but I'm not saying anything and I can't do anything. It would trigger that like freeze response, right? And so oftentimes it would lead to tears, or oftentimes it would just lead to feeling this like intense, hollow, like just disconnected feeling in my body after of like, wow, why do I do this?
Understandable. And that makes
And so,
perfect
yeah.
sense. And I think a lot of women can relate to that. In both of what we shared, I think a lot of women can relate to that more often than we actually think, and they choose not to share. Because
Absolutely.
I'm I also am starting to believe a lot of women are having sex and not having orgasms. And not even realize they're not having it, but they're not in tune with their body. So now back to your therapy and everything else. What exactly did you do to better connect?
Yes. So it wasn't actually in therapy that I received all of the tools that I desired around my sexuality. It was actually quite difficult most of the time to ask those questions, because it's almost like sometimes when I went to therapy, it felt like, okay, the therapist is incredible at helping me with my trauma and addressing all of these gorgeous layers. And but where can I thrive in my sexuality? Like, what can I do in order to feel pleasure, right? And so that was kind of the journey that I was confused around, and trying to figure out, like, okay, where can I actually find those tools that are going to help me in a practical way to feel connected to my body, to connect to that, like, juicy sensual energy, because I'm not getting it from my therapist. I feel like that's just really crossing some ethics.
They
Like,
probably look at you like, I'm here for mental, not your vaginal
yeah,
needs.
exactly, right? Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when you go to the doctor and you have like stitches, and they stitch it all up, but it's like, okay, but like how do I deal with like the scar tissue,
Exactly.
and like how does it actually heal and feel good, and how do I connect this piece now that was disconnected back to my body? And so what was incredibly helpful for me is just going back to the roots of my mom's dad's side of the family, which is they're East Indian. So really just diving into Tantra and like sacred
I've heard of that.
sexuality, and really connecting that sacredness back to sex. And that was so, so, so key for me, because I had grown up around the understandings and teachings of Tantra. And it was almost like that beautiful connection to invite like that sacredness back into my sexuality in a way that felt like, okay, this isn't like aggressively weird or like invasive or just like, right? It felt gentle. It felt like there was so much space to explore, um, just my deep divine connection with my pussy and my womb, and just connecting to my breath and connecting to yoga and my body. So it was all of those kind of practices that brought me back into my body and brought me back into like a regulated nervous system that really allowed for that like melting of the ice connection to my pussy, and then really drawing from sacred sexuality practices and rather connecting to my sexuality as something that is incredibly healing and divine, and my body, recognizing my body is divine. That was a really, really beautiful anchor point for me to explore more around sexuality. Of course, I dabbled into all of the sexual education stuff and what it really meant for me to use my voice during sex and say what I want, and that was a journey too, because it's not easy if you aren't used to using your voice in the bedroom. It can be such a journey to just even ask for what you want, because sometimes we don't even know what we want. Like, what is it do we want, right? And so that was a beautiful journey in itself, is like learning the power of my voice and understanding how this can contribute to my own sexual sovereignty and empowerment in the
That's
bedroom.
great. And before, I wanted to also answer your question and not using your voice and saying what you want. I do know a little bit about tantra. If you could let the
Yeah.
listeners know exactly what that is and just give a brief small description.
Yes, absolutely. So, Tantra is a spiritual practice that was founded over 5,000 years ago or something like that in India. And at the time, it was really radical and really out there, because most of the like Buddhism and Hinduism were kind of like renouncing the worldly pleasures, which included sex. Even Christianity, right? It's like, ooh, no, 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 no. That's not part of this. And Tantra really included it, and it really brought in sexual practices as divine. And it didn't really separate like sex is good or sex is bad. It just included it in all of this. And so when we think Tantra, we just automatically maybe think Kama Sutra or like all the sex positions or the massage, right? But it was really just sexuality was a small part of it, and there were other elements to this practice. But the inclusion of sexuality as something divine and holy and sacred and beautiful, right, was the main idea around that.
Wonderful. I wanted to answer your question in women not using their voice. And, it's very true because, number one, at a young age, I lost my virginity at 15. I didn't know my body. I just knew vagina, penis goes in vagina, and this is what sex is. I didn't know any
Yeah.
more than that. Okay, I knew about oral sex, but more women being pleasured is definitely also not something that's talked about. Cunnilingus is not something that is talked about. Of course, sucking them off, we all know what that is. Even back in my day, that was advertised, that was discussed, that was talked about because please the guy, please the guy, please the guy. But we don't talk about pleasing the woman enough. I mean, now we are starting to open up that world, but it seems like as little girls, we're grown up to always please, 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 please. But again, what about my vagina? What about my breasts? What about my body parts that are sensitive and that want to be touched and caressed? What about me? Is it only you stick your penis inside of me, you ejaculate, and you go on with your day? Because a woman having an orgasm is not something that is discussed. Sex, it seems like when I was growing up, my little brain thought it's for him. And I'm just, like the baby maker, and I'm just going to lay there and make sure he gets off. Because it's as I got older, as the years went by, I started realizing, oh, okay, so you can receive oral sex, but I can also receive oral sex. So this goes both ways. Because for the longest time, I didn't know what a 69 was. And it was until like one of my friends from school broke it down to me. I think I was in like 12th grade when I figured out why people would always say 69, 69. I had no idea what the hell that was. But this is what I'm telling you. Like, if no one tells you, you don't know. And a lot of times, if your parents aren't talking to you, you're finding out from your friends or you're doing your own research. But you're absolutely right. As women, we don't have a voice. We don't say when something is not pleasing or what we want, or satisfy me this way. I like this position, because we didn't grow up on that. We grew up on please, 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 please. Don't ask for what you want. Don't say that you want him to go down on you. That's not ladylike. Why would you do that? So that's what I wanted to add when you said we don't voice ourselves, because we don't. We absolutely do not, because it's just not something women do.
I love that you brought this to the conversation because it's so true. Even in society and the media and how it portrays women's pleasure, and it's not pleasure centered, first of all. Second of all, women's pleasure is not centered. When you watch anything on Netflix or any movie, you see maybe a man penetrating the woman, and like after 3 seconds she's like in orgasmic bliss and just like, oh my god, this is so good, and then it's over. And then in your life you're maybe receiving penetration and you're wondering like, am I broken? What's wrong with me? Why am I not experiencing this thing that I'm supposed to be experiencing? And then we just get really comfortable with it because of what the media has shown us and what we've learned and what we like, all of the ideas that we've gathered around what sex should look like. But there hasn't been any education whatsoever on how to get there and what it means to be in pleasure and what it means to be in your body, because you're not going to learn that in sex ed, and your parents might not talk to you about what it means to be in your orgasmic enjoyment and pleasure. And your friends, maybe at the time you're exploring that, they're all just in a space of not knowing, right? And if it's not talked about and the media isn't showing anything like that, then that's just what you turn into your new normal, right? And when we begin the journey of self-pleasure and when we start the journey of our sexuality, right? Let's talk about self-pleasure for a second here. So how we self-pleasure is a direct reflection of how we're showing up in the bedroom. So the way that we're showing up to self-pleasure shows us how much attention we're paying to our body during sex. And so it's really interesting if you just take a moment to think about how connected you feel to your body during self-pleasure. What are your thoughts? How are you connecting to your body? It might be similar to the way that you feel during sex. And we don't take that opportunity to change our blueprint of what it means for us to be in our sexuality and in the sex that we're having, right? Because it's like we've had sex this way for so long, and we just keep doing the same things, and this is how it's going to be, right?
You're absolutely right. You brought up a good point. On TV, when there is a sex scene, the man penetrates the woman, and majority of the scene is set figured on the man, fucking her half to death. And then, as you say, now she's in this orgasmic feeling. And that's how even porn is, where it's so unrealistic. And a lot of times, too, that's what young boys are watching. Girls might watch it, but that's what young boys are watching. Okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to do it. And nothing else is being explored. Nothing else, because you're right, sex ed is not going to give you that information. Women are told self-pleasure. Now, I was raised up in a Christian home. We didn't talk about shit. Nothing. Nothing. Let alone if you talk about masturbation, that is a fucking sin. Fucking sin. So how am I supposed to know if I want him to lick to the left or lick to the right or focus on the clitoris or what I want him to do if I don't even know my body part and where I like to be touched? How can I really truly direct you and lead you in this sexual experience that we're having? I don't know my fucking body.
Absolutely. And I think that there's so much pressure and expectation. I think that this isn't talked about a lot, but there's so much pressure and expectation on men to know exactly what to do and how to please us, when every body is so different. Every vulva is so
Mm-hmm.
different. And what's going to work on one person is not going to work on the next. And there's this expectation that we just place on men like, you don't even know where the clitoris is. But like, really, do I know how to explain how I like to be pleasured?
Exactly.
And am I taking self accountability to explore this with my partner, right? It's like we're just gonna not talk about it and keep doing the things the way that we've been doing it and play the blame game. Because it's so easy. It's so
I think
easy to do
women, we do
that,
that a
right?
lot. We fake orgasms. We say we're enjoying ourselves and we're not. And we lie because we want him to feel good because we know it would make him feel completely emasculated if we are honest and say, "Ugh, it wasn't all great tonight, honey." But, they have no problem saying all you do is lay on your goddamn back. So at the end of the day, why can't we be honest if they're being honest with us? Because I know many women probably heard all you do is lay on your fucking back. So
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. So I guess as we move forward, when did Pussy Fairy come to fruition here? And why that name? Why did you add fairy to it? And why pussy? Why not
Yeah.
vagina queen or something like that?
Well, pussy, first of all, I love pussy. I love my pussy. I love pussy in general. So like pussy just had to be in it.
Okay.
Pussy takes like I wasn't about to be the dick fairy, I can tell you that. So so pussy was important to have. And Pussy Fairy is really just like the essence of like magic and the essence of connecting like your sexuality and sprinkling like these little bits of like this like juju in everyone's
Mm-hmm.
life. And I was like, ooh, yeah, because at that point I was like, I just love sharing all of the information that I'm learning and offering it to the people
Mm-hmm.
around me. I feel like I'm just like the pussy fairy, like sprinkling some pussy magic everywhere I go. And then it just kind of stuck. And now it's my whole
This is
brand.
great. I love it.
So,
Pussy, pussy, pussy. That's why you're here with us today. I saw that and I'm like, oh, I love her because she has no shame. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I wanted to ask you, based on what you do, what is the top three advice that you want to offer women? So my first question is for women who are truly not sexually enjoying themselves in their relationship. And I don't know if I'm asking you the question correctly based on your profession. So, women who have not connected with their vagina, I guess I should say, what is one word of advice that you have to offer to them? Because there are some women, even the thought of touching themselves does not sit well with them. So if you're scared to touch yourself, obviously, why would you even want your man's hands or tongue down there?
absolutely. Ooh, this is a great question because I get this question so much and I understand it. Like, I understand it so deeply. So if you're just like, the idea of self pleasure, like, what is this bitch talking about? I don't even like, what is self pleasure? Like, am I just gonna go there under the covers and just like rub one off, and then I'll just explain to what is this? So, a beautiful way to just connect to your body and your pussy is actually doing some mirror work.
Yes, yes,
This
yes,
is
yes, yes,
so
yes.
powerful. Spread your legs, get some like good music on, and look at your pussy because this moment in itself will show you any resistance that you're feeling. Maybe you're noticing feelings of disgust, like, oh, I really don't like the way that my
Mm-hmm.
pussy looks. Like, this is just really hard to look at. Like, it's not even cute. This is too long. This is too short here. This could be like a shade lighter, right? And noticing all of the thoughts that are coming up as you're gazing at your
Mm-hmm.
pussy, right? Because so much of the time, we only pay attention to pussy when maybe
Mm-hmm.
something's wrong, when it's time to slather up
Mm-hmm.
the lube with our partner, or when we are masturbating, right? And so really developing this relationship outside of those contexts and just taking a moment to
Mm-hmm.
gaze at your pussy can show you so much around the resistance that you feel, or maybe the connection that you feel, or maybe the disconnection that you feel.
Wonderful. I like how you simplified it. Look at your pussy. Got that? The next thing. How do you get comfortable for the women out there that are fearful of taking control in the bedroom, telling their partner how they would like things done, not being afraid to try out new positions or to experiment things, and also helping these women understand sex is beyond penis into vagina. It is way beyond that. I honestly think that if you're not having any oral sex or any sensual touching before you get to that, what the fuck are you doing? Like, seriously, like, should you even be having sex? Because how do you not want? Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, girl. I know I'm running off track here, but I've had a friend that told me cunnilingus is not something that she was into. And of course, I'm not an expert. I don't know if maybe the person she was experiencing with, she wasn't like it, or maybe she wasn't connecting with her body. So let's break this up into a two-part. Is it true that some women may just not like cunnilingus and that's something they're not into? Is that a thing?
That's a great question. So I think it really depends on the person experiencing it. Like, first of all, what is it about it that you don't like, right? Is it maybe that it brings up this tension in your body because you're like, oh, do I smell? Is it okay? Like, did I wash properly? Right? Like, all of these thoughts, it adds tension in the body. And so it gets really difficult to relax into that and actually drop into your pleasure. And, right? Maybe you're wondering, like, can they breathe? Like, are they okay? Maybe you're in that, like, caretaker
She
mode,
said,
right?
can they
That's one
breathe?
of
I'm
those
sorry.
things.
Okay, go ahead.
Right? Those are so many things that, a lot of women out there are thinking about when they're like in that
Mm-hmm.
pleasing mode, right? So really just the ability to surrender and to feel into what is it
Mm-hmm.
that I like? And are you allowing enough time for your body to relax
Gotcha.
into it? Because first of all, a cis woman can take up to 40 minutes for her vagina to be fully aroused for penetration.
Mm-hmm.
40
Yep.
minutes for all the blood flow, for all, like everything to get to the right places, all the juices. By that time, a lot of people are already done and moved on to the next thing like 30
I
minutes
agree. And this
ago.
is why sensual touch, I don't know if you would agree with me, I feel is important because ain't nobody trying to tell you you need to be down there for 40 minutes. But there are other things, of
Yeah.
course, that you can do to help stimulate the blood flow in the body. This is why touch is very important. Okay. Wonderful. And the
Absolutely.
second part to that
Yes.
question, how are these women supposed to feel comfortable incorporating their partner?
I love this question. So there's a really beautiful way to navigate this is I think a lot of the times we don't take enough time to
Mm-hmm.
explore. We just have sex and we have sex and then that's the
Mm-hmm.
event and that's it. But what would it be like to set aside the time we
Mm-hmm.
allotted for sex to just explore what feels good, to explore different types of touches and techniques and practice what it feels like to say, no, that doesn't feel good, but I really liked that
Mm-hmm.
other move, right? And so this is a really gentle way of exploring and inviting your partner to come and play with you because now it's not okay, we're under pressure here for the
Mm-hmm.
pleasure and we have the goal and pressure of orgasm. It's more of like, what can we explore in our bodies that feels good? And how can we make this an invitation and a curiosity, right? So there's no like fear of, oh my gosh, maybe my partner's going to feel rejected if I tell them that didn't feel good. It's like, oh, you didn't like that? Okay, let's try it a
Mm-hmm.
different way, right? So It's more of a curiosity and an invitation. So I really, really highly recommend that if you want to integrate your partner and figure out what feels good for you and your partner, is to create some space to play and explore.
Wonderful. I like that. Explore and create space. So, the last thing I want you to give them is, what is the big top advice that you want to offer to women out there when it comes to sex? Being the pussy fairy, what pussy advice do you have for me and for the other women out there? I feel like I have a good connection with my pussy. It could be a little better sometimes, but hey,
Mm.
I'm always willing to learn better things.
Yes. Okay. So use your pussy to make the decisions in your life. Pussy knows what she wants and pussy knows what she doesn't want. And it's so incredibly important to check in with your pussy and your body before sex, right? Does pussy actually want this? Is pussy a fuck yes to this? Or is she dry? And if she's dry, what does she need in order to feel pleasure, right? Because it doesn't have to be about sex, but we can still connect in a way that feels so good, right? Because our sexuality, in the way that it fluctuates, we go through seasons of turn on and turn
Exactly.
off. And so when we touch base with pussy and ask pussy what she needs, she will tell you exactly what she needs. And just cultivating this relationship with your pussy and just, cupping your hand onto pussy and just asking yourself, is this what I want? Yes or no? And what can I do to make a pleasurable experience for pussy? Like, what is pussy a yes for?
I love that. Check in with your pussy. So, as we end today's episode of Storytime, Azaria, you have provided us with awesome information. I really appreciate you being a guest. As you guys know, all her information is going to be available on the website, but also I want you to give them an insight exactly what you are able to offer them, and you don't have to tell them where they can find you because all that information will be on the episode, and they'll just be able to click and go right over to you. So definitely, what type of person should reach out to you when it comes to pussy issues?
Yes. Ooh, okay. So I do work with couples and women and moms, but if you find yourself bumping up to something that is holding you back in your sex life, holding you back towards deeper intimacy, whether it's trauma, whether it's something that you really want to just respark and rekindle. Maybe you're just feeling disconnected from your body or your pussy. Maybe you're just feeling like you want to increase that confidence and that bad bitch energy in your life. You can holler at me.
Wonderful. And you guys heard that. So, just to recap, the three things that she provided us today is look at your pussy. Why do you want to look at your pussy? So that you can have a better connection with her. So you can, number one, see what she looks like. Trust me and believe me, a lot of women are scared to touch their vagina and they don't want to play with themselves. And masturbation and self-pleasure is something, as we all know, that has a negative connotation on it. So look at your pussy. Number two, surrender to what do you like? Surrender to what do you like? So if you have issues of, your man going down on you, cunnilingus, whatever term you want to use, what do you like? And she made a good point, and I know it is funny, but understanding what the underlying issue is. Do you feel as though you smell? Do you think he's not breathing down there? What is the main issue that is bothering you that you don't want him to go down on you? And also, you and your partner exploring together and creating a space that is healthy and good for the both of you. And the last thing is, use your pussy to make decisions. You and her are in control, and and you guys need to learn how to work in unison, okay? Because she knows what she wants, and she does talk to you if you absolutely listen. If she don't like it, she gonna fucking tell you. And if she tells you she don't like it, listen to her. And if she wants extra done, listen to her also, because guess what? This is probably why you're feeling unsatisfied all the motherfucking time. So, as we end today's episode, we want to again thank you guys for listening. And Azaria, thank you for being a guest. And you guys have a great one. Always remember to love yourself, voice yourself, and be yourself. To the next episode, guys. Have a great one.